Here in an episode of Chordplay, and this is part 2 of the Chords of Eric Johnson. And it was a couple years ago I put part 1 together, and somewhere in the comments section I had a viewer that called me out, and they said, hey, I like this, but can you make another Eric Johnson Chordplay, but make it a legit Chordplay episode? And when I saw that, I was like, what? And then I went back and watched the episode, and I realized he was right. And that first episode, which that was very early on this channel, you know, I didn't have proper lighting, I didn't even really have the flow of these chordplay lessons together. But that was more or less an Eric Johnson themed chord search or chord hunt, you know, kind of in the style of his, you know, chord vocabulary and voicings. So even though there was a little bit as far as music in that episode, there were a lot of chords, you know, and challenges there on the fretboard with your fret hand. But this episode's going to focus more on his actual music from some of his very popular albums. And Eric Johnson's a master guitarist. I've met Eric a few times over the years. The first time it was a few years ago on his Via Musicom, you know, anniversary tour. And it was after the concert. That was in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I got to meet him and got a photo with him and talked to him for a minute. And then the following year, I met him again at Gearfest up at Sweetwater. And he performed and did, you know, some appearances and stuff like that. I got to talk to him again. Just a phenomenal guitarist, you know, brilliant musician, and one of the nicest guys you could possibly meet. You know, very soft-spoken and friendly and warm. And it's obvious that he loves music and he loves his fans. And he really does, you know, have this kind of comforting, you know, aura around him when you meet him. It's like you're obviously meeting guitar royalty or whatever. But you can tell he's just a really normal, nice guy, you know, no ego, no attitude, just very humble and, you know, soft-spoken. And then he grabs the guitar and just melts your face. I'm pretty sure I've mentioned this before, maybe in the 3-for-All I did for Eric Johnson, but Eric's kind of revised Hal Leonard edition of Total Electric Guitar, you know, his instructional video from back in the 90s. This book is worth its weight in gold, and I've recommended this before. I've recommended it to some friends and some students. But if you're familiar with that instructional video, this is revised, and they actually transcribed a lot of those little licks and things that he plays, you know, in between the examples in that lesson, because he's just jamming. You know, he's talking about influences and his picking and tone and all sorts of stuff. So this is brilliant. And it has like an online portal, you know, so you can watch the video online through Hal Leonard's, you know, site. And then the book is just filled with, you know, transcriptions and licks and chords and, you know, great book. The opening, that's Righteous from Via Musicom, you know, great song, something like this. So right there, we're basically moving in like this. So we're in the key of F, right? But he's doing this, you know, C to E flat into that F right there, like a single note kind of riff. I think he starts with a slide and then shifts E flat into F, and then eventually starts doing this C, E flat to F right there. So the opening he's doing like that. And then he starts doing this F, you know, kind of like a partial, you could think of it as either a F5 or you could actually play F major. And then he's moving over to this, and that's a B flat over F. Like that. Like that. So that opening with the slide, I think he starts around the 16th fret. And then slide E flat into F, grab that F to B flat over F kind of chord move. then right there is where he does the C, E flat to F. Cool riff. It's got this kind of classic rock, like 50s or 60s rock kind of bounce to it. And then he moves A flat into B flat right here. And then he starts grabbing this. So that's unusual. And right there, that's B flat. And then a B flat 7 sus4. And then he starts coming down like this: B flat, A flat, F to E flat. Right back into that F riff. And right there, you're going to go down to like an open position G power chord. So you're playing the bottom part and then kind of more of the chord, and then you're grabbing that G up on the high E right there. Something like that. And then an A flat over E flat. And then B flat over F again. And then start that riff. And he starts doing those lead licks in there, which is so cool, like this. Such a cool song. We have next to the opening to Soulful Terrain, which is the opening track from Tones, and it's something like this. I'm not gonna lie, this is a difficult guitar part, and it looks deceptively easy on paper, but then once you try to play this, it's really hard. And it actually opens with this, which is kind of unusual. And when you hear that repeating, kind of delayed, it's kind of repetitive delay effect, but it's on this chord, which that's technically going to be an A flat sus4 over E flat, which is weird. That's what you hear when it's looped, and I'm just using the TC Electronic Ditto looper to kind of create this. Just that constant loop, which that's part of the song, but we're going to get rid of that. But just remember, that's A flat sus4 over E flat. And that chord does make a reappearance in the song, but then you hear him slide kind of in and out of the 13th fret, and then you hear this. A weird little riff. So really slowly, that's the first part, and it's basically E flat 7 we're kind of playing with, and you want to let all this ring as much as humanly possible. And also Eric's tone is this really shimmery and bright, clean tone, and I don't really have the tone matched at all. Like, I'm just kind of using my normal sound with the gain and everything rolled back, so that's not quite the right tone for this, but I'm showing the chord part. So we got that, and then you're going to basically grab, it's this A flat octave, and he's kind of hybrid picking right there. Use your pick for the root note and then your middle finger there to pluck the higher octave, and then you're going from E flat to D flat right there. So really slowly. And that's just weird. So after that E flat 7 area with that A flat octave that you kind of hybrid picked, then right there you're going to come down like this. And that's basically an E flat minor add 9 over G flat. Like that. Really interesting chord there. And then right there. And then you're going to come up like this. Basically grab that G flat. You can kind of think of that as like a G flat 6 kind of implied. So it's all implied chords, you know, for this part, but really slowly. And then the second time it's the same thing, it just has a little different rhythmic pulse to it. So after you do that, pause after that G flat. The second time you just go right through it. You know, it's just a really weird guitar part, but big challenge, and it's much harder than you might think. And after the opening of that song, there's a really choice chord that Eric plays right here. This really airy and dreamy kind of sound. I love those sounds that Eric grabs. And that's basically going to be a G flat major 7 over D flat, which I know that's kind of a handful, or a mouthful rather, but we're playing it like that. You know, really cool chord. G flat major 7 over D flat. Next is a section from the song Victory, which is the last song on the album Tones, and it's something like this. This Hendrixy kind of vibe to it. Right there, it's basically F major, and then you're kind of reaching up and grabbing this 70s inversion. You know, that's basically a B flat major chord, but you're doing it like that. And then right there, grab that F note. You're going to slide that down to C, and then you're going to grab the C to F. It's kind of like a little piece, you know, a little piece of F major right there, but definitely very Hendrix inspired, you know, kind of this partial chord kind of movement in there. And right there, when you get back to that F note, now grab D right there, and it's kind of an implied D minor 7, like that. So after this F part, grab B flat, and then you're going to slide basically these, you know, double stops up on the top right there. You're kind of sliding like a partial C to D back to that C, like that. So one more time here. And the second time, start the same thing, you know, F, that little B flat partial chord. Do the slide down, and then right there you're going to basically end with these two chords. So there's D minor 7, and you're going to flip part of that around to this. That's a G7 sus4. So you're going from here to there. And those, once again, those airy, you know, kind of a hypnotic, you know, Eric Johnson chords. You know, so cool. Okay, up next is Nothing Can Keep Me From You, which is from Via Musicom, and it's just a 4-chord progression, but it actually works out to be a really good fretboard and fret hand challenge, like this. progressions like this where it's definitely a challenge, you know, a physical challenge to play. So it starts with this, and that's basically F sharp minor over C sharp right there. So just think of an F sharp minor bar chord, but we're not barring. We're barring up on the top, but we're not barring the the low E down there like this. And then that's going to move over to a B major over F sharp right there. You're going to basically flip and you're going to grab this, which is one of those really cool, Eric Johnson dreamy chords. So that's going to be a D major 7 over F sharp. Really cool chord. And then this is basically an E5 over F sharp. And that's the main thing you're going to hear in that intro part. It's also part of the verse too. But you're going to hear that F sharp, root note against all those chords. The F sharp minor, B major, D major 7 over F sharp, and then E5 over F sharp. So they all have that shared, F sharp root note. Okay, next up is All About You, which is the opening track from Via Musicom, which is a great Eric Johnson album, kind of overlooked, I think. And this is deceptively hard to play. On paper it looks really easy. There's a lot of sus2 chords happening. But then when you start looping this progression and start playing with it, you're probably going to feel it, like in your forearm and in your wrist, because it's very demanding. Like this, deceptively hard to play. A good warm-up, chord progression. You're starting with B flat sus2 right here and just picking through it slowly. Right? And you're going to move over to this, and it's basically a G minor 6 implied. I've also seen it written this way. Something like that. But I like to do it that way. Same notes, it just has a little different sound compared to this. You can do it either way. I just prefer it this way. Then you're going to play a C sus2 right here. And then E flat sus2 right here. So one more time, B flat sus2. C sus2, and then E flat sus2. Okay, the last example is S.R.V, which is from Via Musicom, and this is Eric's tribute to Stevie Ray Vaughan, something like this. Cool. Definitely a big Hendrix influence, and you can also hear the Stevie Ray Vaughan influence. Let me do that one more time. So you're basically starting here in kind of C sharp minor. C sharp minor right there. You're going to eventually kind of move down to implied A, and then eventually E. So that's kind of the chord progression, behind the scenes here. It's all implied chords like this. So that's C sharp minor, and then right here it's kind of moving into implied A, like this. And then right here, starting with A, and then kind of an implied E major, and then you've got this E sus2 to E major, kind of move back into that C sharp, and right there you're kind of moving moving this partial E to a partial F sharp, and then C sharp to B to an A sus2 right there. Something like that, one more time. And then you've got this little single note, a double stop hammer on, and then do that again. Kind of sliding into that G sharp and then back down to the low E. Great guitar part, really cool. That's going to wrap this episode of Chord Play with part 2 of the Chords of Eric Johnson. And I'll admit, Eric Johnson's music is very hard to play, and like I've mentioned a couple times in this episode, it might look easy on paper, like if you're looking through a transcription book or something, but then when you sit down and actually tackle it and try to play it and try to get it to sound like Eric, it's almost impossible. I mean, there's the tone, there's the feel, and just that, kind of magic touch that he has. And he's the only guy I can think of that sounds like that. It's almost like Jeff Beck or someone like that, Van Halen or Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan or whoever. When you hear them play, it's almost like you're looking at their fingerprints, or their thumbprint or something. It's such a signature and distinct sound. It's almost like you're looking at a photograph of them, but you're listening to it, and it's like, man, that's Jeff Beck, or that's Jimmy Page, or that's Van Halen, or Eric Johnson. You can definitely tell when it's him. So anyway, leave some feedback and comments. Please subscribe to Lessons, and I'll be back before you know it with more content material. Thank you.